the House took on a hot spot for fraud and abuse in the president's health care law by passing a bill I authored called No Subsidies Without Verification Act. This legislation stops government from issuing health care subsidies until it has a system in place to prevent fraud. It's that simple.
It's the No Subsidies Without Verification Act, and it's the latest in a bipartisan effort to protect taxpayers from the president's costly health care law. But the White House has said the bill is unnecessary, and President Obama would ultimately veto it. Joining us now with her thoughts, a registered nurse and Republican Congresswoman from Tennessee, Diane Black. Congresswoman, good to see you.
Good to be with you, Doug.
Yeah, let's talk about this rule. I understand that it was issued over a holiday weekend, which is not atypical. We see a lot of these sort of document dumps done when people are not paying any attention. You paid attention to this. Tell us exactly what the ruling would do.
Well, on page 356 of a 600-page document that, like you say, came out over the 4th of July, actually on a blog site, where I think this administration thought no one was watching, we found this right in the middle, where the president, or actually, I guess it was Kathleen Sebelius, acknowledged that the systems are not ready and that they would not be able to do what was provided for in the law that was signed into place by this president to verify people's income in order for them to be eligible for subsidies. And we just feel that that is not the way to go. As a matter of fact, they said in the same rule that people could just self-attest. That was an honor system. They could say what they made, and they would be able to get a subsidy. And we know by looking at other programs that the amount of fraud that it is potentially in this kind of non-verification system is just staggering. Some estimates of $25 billion a year, over $250 billion in a 10-year period. Our country cannot afford it, and neither can the hard-working taxpayer afford to have their dollars be spent in this way.
Congressman Black, the Obama administration obviously differs with what you're saying right now. They say that this rule is being widely misinterpreted, that the flexibility only applies to a small subset of people, it says, and that eligibility checks for those people will not be undermined. What do you make of that?
Well, I think if the president is going to say that, then they ought to show by a real rule that is actually written that is what they're going to do. But all we're hearing is a bunch of rhetoric about what they have as far as the system goes. Look, I didn't make this up. This is what the president and his administration felt was necessary to protect the American taxpayer from fraud and abuse, and that was what was written in their law. The president can't just decide by rule what he's going to follow and what he's not going to follow. And if they thought that this was a system that was necessary to begin with and put it into law, then we need to follow it. And if they're not ready, we need to delay it.
Just so I understand that
Period.
The devil...
That's all it is to it.
Yeah. So I understand the devil in the details of this thing. Your concern is that the administration is going to do this eligibility determining by random sample, and that anybody who is not in a random sample is therefore eligible? Is that your concern?
That's right. And the rule that came out, the final rule, was that they would just audit. Well, we also know that once a subsidy goes out the door, it's almost impossible to retrieve that money. And I know that's one of their talking points, that, oh, well, we'll just audit, and there's also a $25,000 fine if someone breaks the law. That has not worked in other programs. There's already those kinds of things in many of the other entitlement programs, and all you have to do is sit in some of our committees and hear from the inspector generals of those other programs to find that this is not working. They don't retrieve the money. People are not held accountable. And I want to talk about, just very briefly, something else that could happen that is a real unintentional thing, is that
quickly,
if someone...
Very quickly, if you could.
Okay, sure. If someone thinks that they are eligible and they don't have someone that's telling them, assured that by doing verification, that they could actually be breaking the law unknowingly. Okay. And that would be a really sad thing for someone to be in that situation as well.
I know there's so much more we could talk about regarding this rule. Representative Diane Black, thank you very much for your time. Good to see you.